right, welcome back to On Texas Football Special Midday Live Edition, a recruiting edition of On Texas Football here on a Thursday afternoon. I'm Jeff Howe, joined by our recruiting panel today. It's Jerry Hamilton live on the 40 acres ahead of a big official visit weekend, and Jordan Scruggs joining me here. If you got questions, comments, whatever you got recruiting related, line it up in the chat and we'll get to it. Super chats, as always, jump to the front of the line here at On Texas Football. Jerry, let's go ahead and get started with kind of a 30,000-foot view of where things stand right now coming off of the first visit weekend last weekend.
Yeah, look, we've got 3 highs out there from last weekend, which is a pretty good start, right? Now they all have to come to fruition and announce publicly. But Texas had a really strong weekend. I think we said going in, if you could win 4 recruitments at the end of the day out of that weekend, you had a hell of a weekend. Well, I think that's probably going to end up happening. So we're going to be able to look back on this weekend and say Texas had a really strong weekend. Obviously, there's some guys that we believe are leaning to Texas and maybe pretty heavily right now. But some guys are going to continue on with the official visit process this weekend. I know a lot of people have been asking about Casai Curry. We do not believe he's currently going to visit Oregon. We'll see if that changes. And we think Texas is in good shape there. Junior Tupou, the safety from Thompson High in Alabaster, Alabama, came out and said Texas is his leader. He's visiting Auburn this weekend as Alabama on the 19th, and I believe a June 25th announcement date set. John Meredith, we think Texas is doing well there. Obviously, A&M's is putting in their best effort, but we think Texas is doing well there. We do think Marcus Fakato is an Ohio State lean over Texas going into the Oregon and Notre Dame visits to close out his recruitment. And Jordan, I think it was a pretty positive weekend all around for Texas.
Yeah, no doubt, and think it's going to continue to be more positive as Casai Curry now is set to announce his commitment at 3 p.m. Central on the CBS Sports YouTube channel. So should be expecting some good news here in about an hour and a half. But yeah, I mean, it's a good weekend. You look back at I did a story last week on official visit hit rate. What weekends do they pick up the most commitments? Usually weekend 1 was the driest in terms of converting them from uncommitted prospects to Texas commits to Texas signees. Changed a bit this year. They obviously entered official visit season with more commits than they usually have, but I think it's been an incredibly productive weekend. I mean, think about the needs in this class and the premium positions in this class. Feeling good with Casai Curry, feeling good with Jabari Scaror, feeling good with Junior Tupou. Jaden Nelson will be interesting to see. That's a linebacker and a safety, 2 of the biggest needs of this class. It's also an edge rusher, premium position, then, of course, an interior D lineman, bit of a war daddy as well. You always need those, to compete in the SEC. So, good weekend, top to bottom, I think. Very, very few takeaways from it where you come out of the visit thinking there's no way this kid's going to end up at Texas. Very few of those. So I'm excited. 1 weekend down, 2 more to go.
Jerry, when we look at this weekend, setting the table for this weekend, we'll get to the Casai Curry news here in a little bit, that update that Jordan just gave us. We'll re-rack that here in a sec. But, Jerry, when you look at this weekend, and I think producer Matt has a graphic for us, just a couple little changes on that, Jerry, but overall, what should people be paying attention to this weekend?
Yeah, Sirrod Baker, we're waiting to see if he's actually going to show up for this visit. I think it's gone a little bit back and forth there. Isaac Bartola is committed to Cal. So we'd already made this graphic, so he is not on that list. Kyron Brown, and I posted this on ontexasfootball.com. As of Tuesday, source said Texas will accept the commitment from Kyron Brown from Palo Duro. So we'll see if that visit goes as could be expected this weekend. Brian Swanson, offensive tackle from South Oak Cliff, we still consider a Texas lean. SMU, Oklahoma. We'll let Jordan talk about that more if put their best feet forward. The last 2 weekends, I still think this is Texas recruitment to lose. Caleb Seiler, I'm in the same boat. I think Texas is the favorite going into this weekend. Northwestern is the other school. The 2 Mississippi defensive linemen are really interesting this weekend. One, it's hard to get one defensive line top prospect out of the state of Mississippi. Texas is going for 2, and one would be an Ole Miss flip. Ben Javarius Shoemaker, I think, is one of the best in the country. I think he's tremendous. Mitchell Turner is a guy who has been on campus at Texas with his parents in April, really grew up loving LSU. Alabama started this process in May as the leader. Texas has done a good job in this recruitment to this point. We'll see where it goes this weekend. If it's Alabama or LSU that's going to end up being Texas' main competition here. Both of his parents work in education, and I know that's very important to those parents. One's a superintendent, and his father is a superintendent in Mississippi, played college football at Liberty. His mom is also a counselor teacher, I believe, in the state of Mississippi as well. Ben Javarius Shoemaker, obviously, Kenny Baker, Chris Gilbert, Texas staff doing the best job they can. They would really love to flip Shoemaker from Ole Miss. We'll see. I think, it sounds great, much harder to do. Israel Hammonds, I think, is a very interesting visitor this weekend, the linebacker out of Choctaw, because Texas, despite any national ranking, Texas has Israel Hammonds very high on the board on the defensive side. And that's down to Oklahoma State and Texas. And we believe a announcement or a decision will come at some point in the coming days after the visit this weekend.
Hey, Jordan.
And by the way, you can kind of see the indoor facility if you haven't seen that going up behind us here. Putting the finishing touches on this thing shortly.
Nice, good stuff, Jerry. Jerry being out on the scene. That's what we pay him for, folks. Pay him the big bucks. Jordan, I want to go back to the visit list real quick. One guy Jerry mentioned, one guy that and I want you to hit on, but another guy too. Caleb Seiler, the offensive lineman out of Gunner, and then Izzy Hammonds. Anything with either of those two guys going into the weekend that's top of mind for you?
Yeah, Caleb Seiler. That one's going to be Northwestern of Texas. Arkansas, South Carolina, TCU, Texas Tech were all in the mix at one point. They're out of it. He's going to end up at Northwestern of Texas. He was originally scheduled to officially visit Texas the final weekend, ended up moving the visit up to this weekend, the 12th through the 14th. With that, he canceled his OVs to Texas Tech and Arkansas. He was also originally planning to commit June 21st. Now he's planning to commit a day or two after the OV ends, probably Monday, Tuesday, the 15th or the 16th. This one is pretty interesting. There's I think if this recruitment was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, he would have been committed to Texas by now. But things have changed. NIL, rev share, that changes things. So Northwestern has gone a lot higher financially than Texas has. Could that change this weekend? It could. I'm not currently expecting it to. So I do think it's kind of setting up where Texas is going to really have to push the right buttons to win this one. As far as Izzy Hammonds goes, that one's been Texas versus Oklahoma State for a long time. Utah's been in and out of it, throughout the spring. But I think Texas is in a really good spot for him. I mean, you think about where dominoes have fell at linebacker, kind of has risen his priority level. And then also, I mean, Will Muschamp went out and spent almost half the day at Choctaw High School earlier this spring. You don't do that for a guy that you're not in love with. So I'm excited to the future for Izzy Hammonds. I think he offers a ton of value at each and every linebacker position or off the edge as a true pass rusher. So he's going to be interesting to see because you look at Texas, you look at Oklahoma State, and you think, okay, I wonder where this kid's going. It's got to be Texas. But with Oklahoma State, they might not have the budget that a Texas does, but there's about a select handful of kids, maybe 3 to 5 of them each cycle, that they realistically can pay whatever they want for because that is how they view them. Those are their first-round picks. They only get 3, 4, 5 of those, not 10 or 12 of those like Texas does. So if they go big on the money, it would not be a surprise because, again, that's kind of how he's valued there in Stillwater. Also wanted to add on Brian Swanson. He was at Oklahoma and SMU the last 2 weekends. He'll be in Austin this weekend. Still has the 19th through 21st weekend open. Spoke with a source close to him who told me that's likely to be filled with LSU. That'll be his first ever time in Baton Rouge. So would not expect the Tigers to really make a huge jump with that one. We'll see, though. And like Jerry said, I continue to believe this is Texas versus the field. Texas's race to lose. It's been their race to lose since they offered 2 years ago, and it continues that way. And I mentioned this in a video or live stream earlier this week. I don't know if Texas wasn't to get Swanson, I don't know if there would be kind of a bigger mess up or screw up with the cycle than that one. They've been leading such a long time. there's so many connections and things going for them. Chris Gilbert being the former South Oak Cliff head coach, Sauk alum as well. His trainer being very close with Kyle Flood, having like half a dozen clients that have played at Texas or currently play at Texas. There's just a lot of things going there. So I think it's Texas versus the field for Swanson, and maybe he decides to push up his timeline. I could see him potentially getting it done this weekend, but again, he's continuing to say that probably going to end up at LSU at that last weekend before making a decision.
All right, just want to re-rack the update that Jordan gave a little bit ago for those of you just tuning in on Casai Curry, the big-time defensive lineman out of the state of California. He will announce his decision coming up at 3 o'clock Central. That's going to be on the CBS Sports College Football YouTube page. So at 3 o'clock Central, Casai Curry will make his announcement. Texas, Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia are the final four. Jordan, this one's been trending Texas for a little bit on Casai Curry. You still feeling good?
Yeah, feeling good. An hour 15 away. Ceremony or the stream starts at 3. I would put money on it being made after 3:10. After, I've covered enough live announcements myself to have a good idea when they'll pick the hat. But yeah, I feel good about Texas. They shot out to a really good position in their recruitment after they got him on campus for the junior day in January. We spoke with him right after that visit ended. He said Texas, LSU, Alabama were his top 3, his favorite 3. Alabama and LSU are not out of it. Who's still around? Texas. Texas has been the constant. Now it's Texas versus Ohio State, Oregon, Cal, but still like Texas here. I think it's theirs to lose. Anytime you see a prospect push up his timeline and commit before he can visit or take visits to schools, he hasn't been to Oregon or Ohio State yet. Pretty good sign. So Texas versus the field, I like them a lot, about an hour 15 out.
All right, let's go ahead and get to questions. If you got questions, line them up because we're getting to them right now. Jerry doing yeoman's work out there. Jerry, I know it's hot, so we'll start running down these questions. Joe Z gets the first question in today. Jerry, which recruit are you most intrigued coming in this weekend?
It's been Javarius Shoemaker for me because he's one of the top defensive line prospects in the country. And you're going into Mississippi to try to flip a guy that's committed to Ole Miss. I mean, that's not always the highest percentage historical recruitment to win, but the NIL era makes it a little more feasible. I think Texas has put in a lot of work with Shoemaker. He came on campus in the spring, really under the radar, and I just think he's so talented at defensive line. And Texas is looking for 3 guys. So I'd almost combine Shoemaker and Mitchell Turner together because they're both from Mississippi. Texas is looking for 3 interior defensive linemen early if they can get them. Obviously, we think Curry could go Texas' way coming up. We've had those percentages about 69, 70 or more. I was having some fun with that on Monday. So we're thinking that one looks good. So let's say Texas closes that one out in an hour and 15 minutes. Then can Texas get 2 more guys of those tier 1 guys? Well, there's only 3 left on the board of tier 1 after that. That is Shoemaker, Mitchell Turner, and then Tyler Alexander from Palm Beach Central next weekend. Somebody asked about Jalen Brewster. We'll put him way over there because that thing will play out over a long period of time. So we're just going to put him off to the side for now and leave that one there for a while. But can Texas win if they get Curry here in an hour and 15, 20, 25 minutes, like Jordan said? Can they get 2 of the other 3? 2 from Mississippi, 1 from Florida. Shoemaker, I think, is an absolute stud. That's why Ole Miss worked so hard to get him committed early. So he's my most intriguing guy.
Jordan, who's your most intriguing guy this weekend?
I'm going Sherrod Baker. I have several reasons. Obviously, the Texas Tech Cold War going on right now. That's pretty self-explanatory. He'd love to poach one of the Red Raiders' top commits. And also, he's a huge name in the state of Texas. I mean, he exploded. I think he went north of 3,000 yards last year. Just absolutely ridiculous. I saw 2 of the games during that playoff run, including the game he went for 300 yards and 6 touchdowns that ended Willis and Jermaine Bishop's season, or high school career, you could say. But with him, I mean, he's a terrific prospect. And the speed markers with him are going to give people some hesitation. But this is a kid who played receiver as a freshman and sophomore before moving to running back as a junior. He can run routes. He can catch exceptionally well. And the thing, too, that just always stands out so much about Sarad Baker and that I love, besides the receiving ability, his intensity, competitiveness. Like, every single showcase, elite camp, invite-only camp, whatever you want to call it, he's at. He showed up to Nike, he showed up to Under Armour. He did not have to be there. There was nothing he had to prove. But he still showed up, and he was the best running back there at each one. He was the running back MVP, got invited to the Under Armour All-American game and the Nike opening finals. And he shows up to these camps and runs routes like he's trying to murder the defender. Like, and I can't tell you how much that stands out, because the amount of 5-star guys or 4-star guys that show up to these camps and there's no lines and they're letting people get all the reps, because you can't lose a rep if you don't take one. And there's also different guys that are half-assing it or jogging or complaining about flags. That's never been Sarad Baker. So I think he elevates the rest of the running back room, the rest of the locker room, and there are several different things to like if Texas was to flip him.
Jerry, Jordan hit on Brian Swanson earlier, so we'll get to LT 2 times question for you. Does Brian Swanson commit after his OV this weekend? Jerry, I think you're muted.
Well, sorry, I'm just loud back here. I messed that one up. We'll see if he takes another official visit, is my answer. For the past couple of months, while he's had a Final 8, I continue to be told it's Texas over SMU and Oklahoma, and that's where the decision will come from. Could somebody get him on campus? There's always that potential. I think if Texas does their job this weekend, I think there's a chance that this recruitment could come to an end without another OV.
Jerry, I'll let you get to this one real quick from Pedro Horns and LT 2 times, kind of a combo interior D-line question. Pedro Horns asked, can we flip Jalen Brewster? And how's it looking for Ben Jarvis Shoemaker? So, Jerry, just a combo on those two guys, just to re-rack it for anybody joining us late.
Jalen Brewster, I think, is a long shot. We'll put that one way over here to the right for a few months because I do think that one will go into close to December. That recruitment, he is at Florida this weekend. They're still going after him. LSU's going after him. Obviously, Texas had him on campus last weekend. Shoemaker, look, it's Ole Miss or Texas. There's nobody else unless he pops up with an OV next weekend. Some other people have tried, but he just hasn't gone there, which is good for Texas, that Texas is the one school that has a chance right now to flip the Ole Miss commit. And, again, I think he's one of the top D linemen in the country, best D lineman in Mississippi, and I think Mitchell Turner's second best defensive lineman in Mississippi. Interior guys. So we'll see where it goes with Shoemaker. I'd put it at 35, 65 going into the week, into the weekend, because Ole Miss has had him committed for so long. But then let's see where that percentage is after this weekend. This will be a second trip to Texas. There's a reason for that.
Good stuff, Jerry. All right, Jordan, Dawson Yarbrough 18 asked, I asked this on the site, but will Landon Williams-Callis show up at any point? And if so, does Texas push with Noah Roberts already in the class?
To answer the first one, yes, he will show up. He's expected in Austin the 19th through 21st. I don't know why that visit got reported today like it was new. That's been on the books for over a month.
We've had it on the site for 2 months.
So that visit isn't new. They've been expecting to host him the final weekend for most of the spring. A&M, Oregon, those are the two ones to watch. SMU seems to have a lot of confidence there. We'll see. He is the cousin of I can't believe I'm blanking on his names.
Michael Lewis.
That's his uncle. His cousin
is
James and
Jaquiz
Rogers. Rogers.
He went to Oregon State. Now, Jaquiz Rogers and Landon Williams-Callis obviously had different opportunities out of college, but would Landon Williams-Callis really go to an SMU when he has opportunities to go to bigger programs? I don't know. I don't really think so. I think he's always wanted to play on the biggest stage, and that is what playing at Oregon, Texas, or Texas A&M brings you. So with him, yeah, he's expected in. He'll be at A&M this weekend. Is expected to make a summer decision. This is one. This is for next weekend, so I don't want to talk about it too much. But just thinking about next weekend's list off the top of my head, Williams-Callis is probably the one I'm most intrigued by. Going back to his sophomore year, think about this. He's been recruited by 3 different running backs coaches in 3 years at Texas. And I've never seen Tashard Choice recruit a sophomore as hard as he was recruiting Landon Williams-Callis. They were leading for him. And so much so that I was at a 7-on-7 tournament in February of last year when news broke that Tashard Choice was interviewing with the Dallas Cowboys. I am asking Landon Williams-Cowles about this in an interview. He didn't know about it. I was who told him Choice is interviewing with the Cowboys. And he like ran off to go get his phone out of the bag and was like, damn, man, I was going to go there. Like, that's what he said to me. So under Chad Scott, they never had a chance. They just didn't click. Relationships didn't. There's also a really crucial uncle figure, or not figure. His uncle, his mentor figure, is also involved. You have to have a good relationship with him as well. So I mean, Jabbar Jalouk has them in contention. What could it turn into? They had a really early momentum with him as a sophomore. Could they get it back as a senior? We'll see.
All right, Jerry, I want to combo two questions for you, kind of piggyback. LT2 Tone says, I saw Cornell Greedy James got a massive bump in the national rankings. Why do you think there was such a big move up? Were the sites just late to move him up? And not really in the same vein, Jerry, but a rankings question from Scott Sturgeon. Where does our class rank by the end of the weekend?
I'll answer the second one first. Officially, top 15. Unofficially, in the top 10. But that depends on when guys announce, I think. So we feel comfortable saying right now, if everything comes to fruition, that Texas will be inside that top 10. But you know, these kids still have to announce. Guys are taking visits still. There's other guys still to come in. There's guys committed to Texas taking visits elsewhere. And that first question, what was that first question again, Jeff?
Greedy James rankings.
Cornell Greedy James. It's funny how has his talent changed? No, but he has a lot more offers and made big visits. So his rankings got a bump. So that's always kind of a starting point. Cornell James' talent hasn't changed from the day he committed to Texas till now. Nothing's changed as far as him as a player. So he's been out and about a little bit more. His recruitment gets a lot more people looking at him when LSU and Notre Dame and all the other schools come in and offer. And so that really does a lot to change your rankings because it gets you that second and third look, or people maybe correct an original ranking that said, whoa, we might have been off on this. I think it has a lot to do with his recruitment more than it does the player, because no other games have been played. The player hasn't changed.
Yeah, I can add to a big part of it. He finally showed up to an Under Armour camp or a Nike camp. He actually went to Under Armour Houston, I think the Rivals Houston camp, and Under Armour New Orleans. And after that is when the offers started rolling in, because it was verified measurements, you know, hand height, arm length, wingspan, 40-yard dash, shuttle, 10-yard fly, like all those things. And of course, the reps are recorded as well. So he is plus length. He is corner, nickel, safety versatility. There's a lot to like about him. And he plays at, you know, one of the historic kind of prospect factories in South Houston the last decade or so. So, you know, like Jerry brought up, he hasn't played any football. Nothing's changed about him as a player, but having that verified athleticism changes the projection, because all the rankings are NFL draft projections. So not only did showing up to the showcases help his ranking, it also helped bring in new offers as well.
Hey, Jerry.
I'm going to answer this as a follow-up.
Yeah.
Is he a corner or safety? Not a safety. Greedy James, not a safety for Texas, would be more than likely a nickel that could also get a look at corner.
Yeah, I like to think about him as like a souped-up Jalen Gilbo. Very similar height, weight, speed, measurements, testing. And obviously Gilbo played in the nickel as well.
Good stuff. Yeah, Jerry, I was actually going to go there. So thank you for taking care of that. Jerry, I'll get you on this question from Joe Z. Gosh, everybody buckle up. It's a Joe Z question. Jerry, do you think we'll get 5 offensive linemen in this class?
Yes, but I don't know when. Texas has 2 already. We believe Swanson's a Texas lean. I believe Seiler's Texas is to win or lose. If Texas were to close out 2, near at 4, then you need 1 more. So I do like their chances.
Jordan, you agree with Jerry on the 5-0 lineman?
Yeah. I also think that going forward, this isn't just O-line, but I think there will be like at least 2 kind of Caden Scherer type takes where it's guys that probably wouldn't have an offer or get a look if it was still 85 scholarships. Now it's 105. You can kind of, take a gamble on guys that are going to take longer to develop, also don't cost a ton. So it would not be surprising if they had like 4 or 5 commits by the end of the summer, then went for a senior eval route. And you also got to remember Ismail Kamara likely to go all the way to December. So, yeah.
All right, Josie. So if it's not a 5-0 line class, you know to blame Jerry. So that's where you can direct your anger and your angst. So not that you don't anyway, but just want to make that clear. Guys, as we wrap it up, Jerry, actually, Jordan, I'll start with you. Any final thoughts, closing thoughts before the visit weekend starts?
No, don't have a ton. Should be a good weekend. Hey, anytime you can start it with good news, like we're expecting in an hour, it's a great weekend.
Jerry, I know you've got, by the way, Jerry has already started the official visit weekend thread over at ontexasfootball.com. So,
and I'll tell you the reason why I did that, because a lot of schools a few are starting OVs on Thursdays through Saturdays now. I started last week on Thursday. Easton Royal flies into Gainesville today. Florida's doing their OVs Thursdays through Saturdays. So Easton Royal, Jalen Brewster, any guys visiting Florida have probably already arrived in Gainesville now, or flying out there right now. So we're seeing more Thursday through Saturday OVs start to pop up from schools, and that impacts Texas this weekend because Florida is Texas's chief competition for Easton Royal.
Jerry is going to ask you for final thoughts, but Dawson Yarborough has a question. Said, Jerry, can you take us on a walk through the new facility? Is there a hard hat available, Jerry, where you can take that tour?
Yeah, I can't, but let's see what CJ Vogel can do. We'll throw CJ in there.
We need to get an OTF drone.
Yeah.
So we need
that. I don't know if that's in the budget, but I will ask. Jerry, real quick, again, just to re-rack the kind of the news of the live stream. Casai Curry will announce his decision coming up in right around an hour, 3:00 Central Time. Jerry, are you still feeling good about Texas' chances, and anything else you want to get out there before we wrap this up?
No, I feel good about Curry. Of course, kids have to announce, but we feel good about that. He had a great visit. I think in a day and age where a former teammate who's a friend might not be as impactful in the NIL day and age, I do think Curry and Richard Wesley. I think Curry looks up to Richard Wesley. Richard Wesley, I watched them work out together at Mission Viejo High last July, and I could tell that Curry was kind of following what Richard Wesley does from a workout standpoint. The trainer had him kind of following along there. I think there's a friendship there. I think Richard Wesley has some leadership skills on that same high school team last year, and so I think that helps Curry feel really good about Texas if he announces for Texas. And I also think his mom's had a couple of really good visits to Austin.
All right. We need to let Jerry get loaded up on some unsweet tea. We got to get him hydrated for the rest of the weekend. So that's where we will leave it right now. Hey, if you're not a member over at ontexasfootball.com, I mentioned the official visit weekend thread that Jerry's already started. Plenty of recruiting intel. It will be there at ontexasfootball.com first. So make sure if you're not a subscriber, new subscribers can take advantage of a limited time offer, $3 for your first 3 months of access over at ontexasfootball.com. You do not want to miss any of the OV weekend intel. That is worth the price of admission alone. So again, new subscribers, $3 for your first 3 months of access at ontexasfootball.com. Hey, big thank you to Jerry for being out there in the heat, answering some questions. Big thank you to Jordan. Thank you both of you guys for the knowledge, the intel, the expertise as always. Thank you to Matthew behind the scenes for producing it, the MVP over at On Texas Football, doing the great job that he does. Hey, make sure that before we're done here that you hit the like button. Make sure you like this video. Make sure that you're subscribed to the On Texas Football YouTube channel, and make sure you got your notifications set so that way anytime we go live, like we will midday on Tuesdays and Thursdays throughout official visit season during June, or when we drop a new video, if you got those notifications set, you won't miss any of our Longhorn coverage or breaking news. So I will be back tonight for the 7 p.m. normal Thursday night live stream. with CJ Vogel and the coach Bob Shipley. I'm filling in for Rod Babers with the Winning Drive crew. Jerry will be back at it unless news breaks or we go live or something else happens. Jerry will be back at it bright and early tomorrow morning for coffee and football. So for Jordan, for Jerry, for Matthew, for the entire On Texas football staff, I'm Jeff Howe. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And until next time, look 'em.